Good evening. It's Mochi Shabbos, Parshas Lech Lecha, the 12th day of the month of Cheshvan in the year 5773. And I'd like to share with you some teachings from Likutei Halachos, the main body of work that Rav Nassim, the main student of Rabbi Nachman, wrote based on the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, Likutei Halachos. And we're learning the halachas of Shabbos. We're going to learn some of the ideas of what it is that we do when we observe Shabbos. So it says, this is the Hilchos Shabbos, Halacha Aleph, and this is the subject of the pleasure, the joy, and the delight of Shabbos. That the idea that we're supposed to eat 3 meals on Shabbos. So he says like this, Al pi ma shekatav Adonai Moreinu B'nayinu, and according to what our holy teacher, Rabbi Nachman, taught in the 60th teaching in Likutei Moharan, that on Shabbos we have an aspect of an awareness of consideration, of meditation. The word is called hibonenut. The idea of a way of looking at the world in a meditative state, to be in a full awareness of the presence of Hashem. That this is the Oraita, the Atika, the ancient Torah. That we receive this experience, we get through this Torah through the experience of Shabbos. That's what it says in the verse, Az tisaneg ala Hashem, that you shall derive pleasure upon Hashem. That is said regarding Shabbos. And this is what Rabbi Nachman wrote in another place. Therefore, this type of meditation, this type of awareness, is called Araisa Da'atika, the ancient Torah. This is the Torah that Zochin al Yedei Bechinas Atik, that this is the Torah that we receive through the aspect called Atik, a spiritual place in heaven called Atik, the ancient one. Bechinas Arichus Yamim, the aspect of the lengthening of the days, as is explained in that place in Torah, in the 60th Torah, as we mentioned. And therefore, we merit to this on Shabbos. Ki Shabbos is the aspect of yira, which means fear or awe. Bechinas yirei Shabbat, Yirei Bereshit, Yirei Shabbat. The word Bereshit can be broken into 2 words, Yirei Shabbat, the fear or the awe that comes from Shabbos, the fear or the awe of Shabbos. Al Yedei Bechinas Yirei Shabbat, Zochin LeBechinat Torah, because Torah, Bereshit, the word Bereshit is considered what's called an entire statement of Hashem in the creation of the world is in this word itself, and it's considered an extremely exalted supernal Torah, the aspect of Torah's Hashem, the Torah of Hashem himself, which is the aspect of this particular type of meditation called a hibonenut. And that Bereshit bara, when it says the first 2 words of the Torah, Bereshit bara, so the word bara is the first half of the word Bereshit. So it's called a statement and a half statement. The aspect of Torah Hashem v'Torato, the Torah of Hashem and His Torah. Therefore, through Shabbos, we merit to a tremendous wealth. That, like our sages said, Kol hame'aneg is a Shabbos zochel lenachala bli mitzarim. Everyone who delights in Shabbos merits an inheritance without boundaries. Shu bechinas nachlas Yaakov, shezach lezeh gam ken al yedei bechinas yira. The aspect of the inheritance of Yaakov, who came to this experience, who came to this inheritance, who came to this great ashirut, through the aspect of amazing, of awesome, of an experience of awe and the experience of fear. And the main thing is dependent on our delight, our experience of the pleasure of Shabbos. And this is I consider the experience that we get through eating on Shabbos. Because the eating on Shabbos is considered the experience of arousal from sleep. Now, through the eating on Shabbos, we get the aspect of illuminating the face, because it says the wisdom illuminates the face of a person. The illuminated face that we get through the eating on Shabbos, which is the aspect, which is opposite of what happens when we eat during the rest of the week. That through that, we lose the spiritual awareness. As we all know, when we eat just for the sake of eating, there's this heaviness, there's a lack of awareness that comes in when we eat just for the sake of eating, as it's brought in the teaching from Torah Rabbi Nachman, Torah 57, Shalus Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, Imasai ben David ba. So we see that we actually receive the illuminated face, the awareness, the ability to perceive Hashem through eating on Shabbos. And that the eating on Shabbos is an aspect of arousal from sleep. Because the restoration of the face, the restoration of the shining of the face, is the aspect of an arousal from sleep. And that's why, when Rosh Hashanah b'Shabbos, ain't toking the shofar. And this is why on Shabbos, when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, there's no blowing of the shofar. Ki shofar b'chinas isur Rosh Hashanah, because the shofar is the aspect of arousal from sleep, as is brought in different other places. This is taught, and this is also the aspect of the reddening of the face of the one who blows shofar, which is the aspect of the restoration of the face through the shofar. And that brings down a level of awe, an experience of awe, of yira, which also means fear, but it means a higher fear. There's lower fear, which is fear of punishment. And then there's a higher fear, which is a fear that's from a place called awe, where a person is in such amazement of the power and the greatness of Hashem that it leaves you speechless. But on Shabbos, we don't need this, because Shabbos itself is the arousal from sleep, through eating on Shabbos, as we said. So we see that through eating on Shabbos, we also draw this aspect of yira, of fear, just the same way that the shofar, blowing the shofar, arouses us and brings us this aspect of yira, of awe, through the arousal from being aroused from sleep, commotion of Varsham. Then therefore, on Shabbos, we are required to eat 3 meals. We eat 3 meals on Shabbos, which is in correspondence to the 3 columns of the light of awe, the light of yira, that comes into the world. That comes into the world in 3 columns. And so we have 3 meals that we eat to correspond to this, which is the shlemus, which is the absolute, which is the completion, or the full embodiment of the experience, or the spiritual energy called the yira. Because the 3 meals are in correspondence to what's called Zer Anpin. It's a spiritual place called the little face, and Atika Kadisha, the ancient old one, and what's called the holy apple orchard, as is known. Because the fear of the teacher, of the Rav, which is in the case there's Hashem bringing that teaches us, is the fear of heaven, which is the aspect of Chochma Bina Vadas, which is 3 parts, which is brought and taught in other places. And this is the aspect of Atika, the ancient one, which is the aspect of Mochin, which is the aspect of having a mind, having a brain, having an awareness. This is the aspect of the fear of a son that is drawn through with wealth, with affluence. And the holy apple orchard, this is the aspect of the spiritual energy called the apple orchard, which is the aspect of called Malchut, which is Malchut means sovereignty, but it's the place where everything comes down into a complete form. And this is what our teacher said: Kol ha'ma'aneg es Shabbos hainu achilas shalosh seudos shehem b'chinas oneg Shabbos b'chinas eden nahar gan. And this is what our sages said, that everyone who delights in Shabbos through having the 3 meals, which is the aspect of oneg Shabbos, Oneg Shabbos, which is the letters Ayin, Nun, Gimel, which stand for Ayin stands for Eden, Nun stands for Nahar, and Gimel stands for Garden. And that's what it talks about in Breshit, that a river, Nahar, came out of Eden to water the Gan, to water the garden. A river came out from Eden to water the garden, the Gan, which is the three, those are also the aspect of the three columns of Yira. And through this we experience the inheritance of Yaakov, Nachala Bli Mitzarim, an inheritance without boundary, which is an amazing level of abundance that is drawn through the aspect of Yirat Hashem Tosif Yamim. The verse says that the Yira of Hashem, the fear of Hashem, adds days. So we see that the three meals, which is the aspect of the revelation of the complete embodiment of the spiritual power called Yira, which is the aspect of the shofar, as we said. Well, the shlosh sudot mechuvanim keneged shlosha avos, and there's also that the three meals on Shabbos correspond to the three avot, to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Just like the three notes of the three blasts of the shofar, the tekiah, the shvarim, and the truah also correspond to the three avot. And because they're one aspect together. They embody the same spiritual light. So we said we don't blow the shofar on Shabbos because the shofar is the aspect of these three lights, comes through the three meals. Those three lights that we get through blowing shofar of the different types of blasts of the tekiah, the shvarim, and the truah, they actually are received. We received them on Rosh Hashanah through the three meals of Shabbos, which is the Oneg Shabbos, the eating, the preciousness of the eating of Shabbos. And that's the aspect of the Neshama Yisera, Shezochin b'Shabbos, that we get an extra soul on Shabbos. And that's also the aspect of a lengthening of the Neshima, drawing breath into elongating the breath, that comes also through the aspect of Yira, which is the Yira aspect again of Yirei Shabbat, the aspect of the fear or the awe of Shabbat. And that's why it's brought down that the ideal time to receive rain is on the night of Shabbos. Because the Geshamim come in through the elongation of the power of breath, which is why there's winds when there's rain. And that's what we say in the special prayer that we say on Shabbos morning, Nishmat Kol Chai. We say Hameorei Yeshenim v'Mekitz Nirdamim, the one who arouses the ones who are sleeping and awakens the ones who are slumbering. And through this, there's the mute is given the power to speak, and this happens through an arousal from sleep. And what does that mean when the mute is given the power to speak? That's all of us. When we are disconnected from our awareness, we don't have the ability to speak prayers, to speak words of holiness. And it's only when we are aroused from our slumber that we have the ability to speak the words of holiness. That's what it says. Nishmas kol chai tevarech. The nishmas is the neshima, is the breath. The nishmas kol chai tevarech. The breath of every living thing shall bless. Bechinas neshama yisera. The aspect of the extra soul that we get on Shabbos. The aspect of the lengthening of the neshima. Neshima and neshama, the soul and the breath are from the same word. And that's also why that there's the mitzvah of having intimate relations with your spouse on Shabbos. Because the power of speech comes through the vessels of birth, which is the aspect of freeing the mouth of those who are barren. And so we're having numbers of meanings here, and they all come together. The idea of the barren woman conceiving a child, but also the idea of one who is unable to pray being barren of words. And he says, see this, if you learn the 60th Torah in Likutei Moharan, you'll see all these ideas presented in their completion, and you'll get a much deeper understanding.